Mark Oren Barton was born on April 2 in 1955. He was an only child raised in a military family. His family lived in Germany for most of his childhood due to his father being stationed there, serving in the U.S. Air Force. His family then moved to Sumter, South Carolina. Barton was described as being very intelligent, but a loner at school. In his teen years, he used hallucinogenic drugs and had to be admitted to the hospital numerous times for drug overdoses. He later attended Clemson University, and then later on the University of South Carolina. During his college years, he was arrested for a robbery. He was forced to undergo drug and psychiatric therapy. He graduated from the University of South Carolina in 1979. He moved to Atlanta, Georgia. There he met and married Deborah Spivey. The couple moved to Arkansas when Barton was promoted to president of a manufacturing company. The couple had their first child, a son, named Matthew, in 1988. Their daughter, Michelle, came along in 1991. Barton became controlling over Deborah, and paranoid. This began affecting his career. He was eventually fired from his position in 1990. Once fired, Barton became furious, and destroyed the company's data files. This led to him being arrested, and spending time in jail. Once released, he moved his family back to Georgia. Once back in Georgia, Barton began an affair with married Leanne Lang. He met Lang while the two worked together at a local chemical company. He was a salesman, she was a receptionist. Deborah became suspicious about the affair when Barton began going to the tanning bed. She told family she was thinking about divorce. Leanne was much younger, nearly half Barton's age. By June of 1993, Barton and Leanne began having romantic getaways. He told her over dinner that the two would be free to marry by October. In August, Leanne left her husband, and moved in with her sister. On Labor Day weekend of the same year, Deborah and her mother decided to spend some time together at a riverside campground they had rented in Cherokee County, Alabama. However, on September 5, their bloody bodies were found. They had been butchered by a hatchet in their camping trailer. Over 600 people were vacationing nearby and nobody heard a thing. Barton was suspected in the murders, but authorities couldn't bring charges due to not enough evidence. He claimed he was at home in Lithia Springs, Georgia, watching the children. 4 days prior to the murders, Barton had taken out $700,000 in life insurance policies on his wife. At first, the insurance company refused to pay, offering to put it into a trust for the children, but Barton refused. Just a week later, Leanne moved in with Barton and the two children. A month later, her divorce was finalized. Investigator Danny Smith contacted Leanne for an interview not long after the murders. He advised her that Barton told him that he would always need a young, sexy wife. And advised her that when the time comes that she has surpassed his needs, that he would kill her. This did not sway Leanne. In February of 1994, 2-year-old Michelle told a daycare worker that her daddy had touched her somewhere he shouldn't have. When asked what she meant, she pointed to her private area. A complaint was reported, and investigated. However, the case was closed, due to insufficient evidence. Both children remained in the home. In May of 1995, Barton and Leanne married. However, the marriage turned rocky due to Barton's declining mental health. Barton was finally awarded the life insurance, with a large amount going into a trust fund for both children. After receiving the insurance money, he quit his job, and began day trading at Momentum Securities with the money. On some days he won and some days he lost, however, he quickly lost a large sum of the money. He began tapping into the children's trust funds, and borrowing from fellow day traders. Eventually the company closed his accounts, and wouldn't allow him to day trade. Barton told them he completely understood, and left without any issues. However, just a week later Barton went across the street to the Alltech Investment Group. He began day trading there. Brent Doonan, the co-founder of Alltech, soon became buddies with Barton. However, Barton began racking up huge debt with the company. Eventually Momentum Securities contacted Alltech advising them of the huge debt he had with their company, and that he'd been fired. Doonan fired Barton. Barton told Doonan he understood their position, and promised to pay the money back. Leanne became frustrated due to being the only one working. She left numerous times, but always came back. Barton began calling the police in Cherokee County, taunting them that he would never go to jail over Deborah and her mother's murders. Once Barton called Leanne at work, telling her he was going to kill himself. She immediately left work and hurried home. Upon arrival, she found he was perfectly fine. He told her, "Never mind, I've already killed the cat." Then he spent the next 2 days pretending to help his daughter look for her missing pet. On July 27, in 1999, Barton bludgeoned Leanne to death while she lay sleeping. The following evening, he beat his 2 children, Matthew and Michelle, to death. On July 28, Barton phoned Leanne's supervisor, and told her that his wife would not be attending work that day due to being sick. When Leanne did not show up for work the next day, and didn't phone to let them know why, one of her co-workers called the apartments where the family lived. A maintenance worker, David Small, and Marty Pickard, the manager of the apartments, went to the apartment, and knocked. When nobody would come to the door, they used their pass key, and entered. They located the 2 children in bed, lifeless. They grabbed the cordless phone from the home, and exited while calling the police. Police found the bodies of the 2 children, neatly tucked into bed, with a blanket covering all but the faces. Each had a handwritten note on top of the blankets. The note laying on Matthew: "I give you Matthew David Barton, my son, my body, my life. Please take care of him." The note laying on Michelle: "I give you Michelle Elizabeth Barton, my daughter, my sweetheart, my life. Please take care of her." Renee Swanson, the homicide detective covering the case, said she was shaken by the sight of the 2 children tucked into bed. Matthew with his Game Boy and Michelle with her teddy bear. They were snuggled like it was really cold. She said, "I believe he had washed their bodies, and the little girl's hair smelled of shampoo like my 10-year-old Brittany's hair smells after a shampoo," said Swanson. "When I saw the notes, I just felt complete sorrow, devastation that they wouldn't be playing tomorrow, or ever." Also found on the scene was typed letter on the coffee table. It read, "To whom it may concern. Leanne is in the master bedroom of the closet under a blanket. I killed her on Tuesday night. I killed Matthew and Michelle Wednesday night. There may be similarities between these deaths, and the deaths of my first wife, Deborah Spivey. However, I deny killing her and her mother. There is no reason for me to lie now. It just seemed like a quiet way to kill, and a relatively painless way to die. There was little pain. All of them were dead in less than 5 minutes. I hit them with a hammer in their sleep and then put them face down in the bathtub to make sure they did not wake up in pain. To make sure they were dead. I'm so sorry. I wish I didn't. Words cannot tell the agony. Why did I? I have been dying since October. I wake up at night so afraid, so terrified that I couldn't be that afraid while awake. It has taken its toll. I have come to hate this life in this system of things. I have come to have no hope. I killed the children to exchange them for 5 minutes of pain for a lifetime of pain. I forced myself to do it, to keep them from suffering so much later. No mother, no father, no relatives. The fears of the father are transferred to the son. They were from my father to me, and from me to my son. He already had it. And now, to be left alone, I had to take him with me. I killed Leanne because she was one of the main reasons for my demise, as I planned to kill the others. I really wish I hadn't killed her now. She really couldn't help it. And I love her so much anyway. I know that Jehovah will take care of all them in the next life. I'm sure the details don't matter. There is no excuse, no good reason. I am sure no one will understand. If they could, I wouldn't want them to. I just write these things to say why. Please know that I love Leanne, Matthew and Michelle with all my heart. If Jehovah's willing, I would like to see them all again in the resurrection. To have a second chance. I don't plan to live very much longer. Just long enough, to kill as many of the people that greedily sought my destruction. You should kill me if you can. Marco Barton. After reading the letter, police located the body of Leanne in the back of the closet, wrapped tightly in a blanket, with a note on top of it that read: I give you my wife Leanne Barton, my honey, my precious love. Please take care of her. I will love her forever. On July 29th, he drove to the offices of his former employer, Momentum Securities. He talked with some of his former co-workers, then suddenly pulled out 2 handguns, and began shooting, killing 4. He attempted to kill Brad Shermale, who was shot 3 times at point-blank range. Afterwards, he walked over to the All-Tech Investment Group building. Doonan was in a conference room when he was told that Barton was there to see him. Thinking that Barton was there to pay what he was owed, he excused himself, and the two entered a small room to talk privately. He pulled out a gun and said today's going to be visual and began shooting. He was shot in the chest. Barton then turned, and started shooting the day traders saying, I hope this doesn't ruin your day. Doonan, still alive, was able to tackle Barton, giving numerous people time to escape. But Barton was much larger, and Doonan was already injured, so Barton was able to get the upper hand, and was able to shoot Doonan multiple times. Doonan staggered down the hallway, while Barton turned shooting at other people. Doonan was able to make it to the elevator, where he held the elevator for a young lady, but soon Barton showed up, and shot her in the head, then took aim at Doonan, but Doonan was able to close the elevator just in time. Quickly pressing buttons, he ended up on the higher floor. When the elevator opened, he begged for help. At first, they thought it was some sort of prank, but quickly determined he was badly injured. They helped him out of the elevator, and called 911. Police began searching for Barton. He attempted to take a young girl as a hostage in Kennesaw, but she escaped shortly later, and called police. An officer noticed him speeding and swerving. Officers quickly caught up to Barton in his minivan, and cornered him at a Shell gas station. Officers attempted an arrest, but Barton turned the gun on himself, committing suicide. Leanne's sister, Dana Reeves, said in a phone interview, that after Barton was named a suspect in the murder of Deborah, and her mother, that she was never comfortable around him. There was never really a comfortable feeling with him after that, she said, and insisted that if Mark had killed anyone, her little sister had known nothing about it. She's just an innocent victim that something terrible has happened to. David Lang, Leanne's ex-husband, feels differently about it though. He told reporters that he feels his ex-wife was aware of the crimes, and that she more than likely helped him cover them up. He states that when Barton took out life insurance on his wife, Leon also took out a large life insurance on him. He fears his own life may have been in danger. He said, "If something could have been done earlier to put this man behind bars, then none of this would have happened." After being shot 5 times, Brent Doonan had numerous surgeries, which required a rib to be removed, and part of his diaphragm. Years later, he co-authored a book titled, Murder at the Office, which depicted the horrific details of Mark Barton's early life, his killing spree, and his own road to recovery. He is married with a son now. Mark Barton murdered a total of 12 people, and wounded 13 more, many with permanent injuries. One of the injured committed suicide years later. Both businesses where Barton killed co-workers closed their doors after the massacres, being unable to recover from the horrible tragedy. Mark Oren Barton was a selfish, narcissistic man. When Barton started having an affair with a woman half his own age, instead of divorcing his wife, like normal people do, he decided to take out life insurance, and murdered her. He was rewarded with a substantial insurance payout for her death. If that isn't bad enough, he squandered that away in the stock market. Instead of facing the shame of his own actions, he decided death was a better option. His own life was not enough. He took his new wife, his 2 innocent children, and 12 of his co-workers with him. He was a greedy psychopath who deserves worse than death. That concludes this episode. Keep your eye out for the next volume, coming soon. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.